Welcome back. Thank you once again for tuning into another newly listed on the CSE clip. I'm Anil Mall representing the Canadian Securities Exchange, and today I'm talking to Matthew Schmidt. Matthew is the CEO of ALPA Esports, and ALPA Esports obviously is just recently listed with us. Matthew, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Hope you're well.
Excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Great. Matthew, let's talk to our viewers and audience about ALPA Esports. What does the company do and what's your vision here?
So essentially, we're focusing on the amateur and emerging gamer and online social communities. When esports first really started getting recognized, and this has been a culture that was kind of percolating on the fringes for some time now, we really saw a lot of people focus on the pro players in the really high profile league stadium events before COVID. And I still think that's a great business, but it's really just one pillar as far as online gaming as a whole. If you look at the space, there's over 2.7 billion people playing video games around the world. 60% of Americans are playing video games daily. And then there's about 75,000 pro players in those elite tournaments. So one of our core assets is an asset called Gamers Arena, which is a cross-platform tournament. And we really drilled into that technology of onboarding different users, organizing different tournaments and bracket tournaments, and administering prizes and their stats on how their gameplay is. And when I first came on to the company, we were looking at, physical events, teams, and we really saw more white space here in the amateur and emerging gamers and these online social communities. So that's, in a nutshell, that's what we're focusing on with ALPA Esports.
Got it. Great strategy to have. Now, everybody's been paying attention to the esports, the gaming space. There's a lot of buzz in this sector. So what was your strategy behind taking this company and going the public route?
Well, I mean, it's exciting as an entrepreneur where it's one of those spaces that's growing really fast and it's evolving and changing. So we really wanted to be well capitalized, and we wanted to position ourselves where we know what we want to focus on: amateur and emerging gamers, user acquisition, online tournaments. But we wanted to stay nimble enough that we can kind of pivot and change within that. So we really wanted to just build out an amazing team. And, I'm happy we're listed now. Our ticker is ALPA. And we have an amazing rockstar team so far with a lot of great backgrounds, but we look forward to building that team out and continuing to build out the portfolio.
Matthew, I want to talk a little bit about your team, but let's talk a little bit about your background first, and then you can get into some of your key team members.
Yeah, totally. So I originally come from producing feature films and media. I would finance and produce feature films in Vancouver. I kind of grew up in the film industry here. I've always been super fascinated with how people connect with IP and these immersive worlds and how we escape and entertain ourselves. And, what we're seeing in video games right now is unprecedented. I mean, in my day, it would be going to the laundromat and it would be like Street Fighter arcade games, and you're putting your quarter up, which means like you got next, winner stays in. And everyone kind of knew who the best player in the neighborhood was. And sometimes you'd have these leaderboards there. And I look at that same emotional experience, and, it's social, it's competitive, and there's some stakes on the line. And it's really the same emotional cues, but on a much larger scale, in a much different way. And I see a lot of trends in technology like that. I mean, the way we used to call or hail a cab and whistle on the side of the street, or the way we used to post a pinup of what's for sale or whatever. And I really look at platforms that can digitize and make something efficient that we already do in our behavior. So I came up, and then I remember first-person shooters would evolve from Duke Nukem and Doom to James Bond GoldenEye, which was much more social. So to see that evolve is really, really interesting, and how engaged these young people are. Gen X, Zs, and Ys are a really tough demographic to reach. They're gaining overall spending power. And I really view video games as the new social media. This is where these younger people are spending their time. And a lot of brands want to meet their existing fans and new fans where they already are. And there's a bit of a disconnect there. And I really look forward to kind of bridging the gap. So we're taking more of a media approach. And I have a great team on the tech side with these online tournaments, and the content we're creating there and the stats and the data we're collecting there is really, really interesting. So yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time to be in this space.
Are there any key team members that you guys have brought on board to move this company forward?
I mean, I'm really thankful to have our chairman, Jonathan Anastat. He's got a great background in this space, and he's helped kind of guide me a lot and mentor me. He was the global head of digital at Activision. So this is during the whole Call of Duty craze. That company saw 10x value through his tenure. And he's now the CMO of One Esports. He's raised over $400 million. They have a $1 billion market cap. When in our first conversations, when we were talking about online tournaments and communities for amateur and emerging gamers and working with organizations, he's like, wow, there's so much white space there. Not a lot of people are focusing that. A lot of people are focusing on teams creating content and high profile leagues and pro players, which is still really interesting. And I still think that's going to evolve in interesting ways, but he really liked what we were focusing on. And he's doing that on a much larger scale. So, he's phenomenal. Other advisors, Cody Lynch is the sports marketing director at Red Bull. Red Bull's been putting money in gaming for ages.
Are there any other factors that you'd be able to talk about that you would say differentiate a company like ALPA Esports from some of your peers?
Again, we're really focusing on the amateur and emerging gamers. I mean, we're a tech company, and we have a platform that people are using right now with Gamers Arena. And I love the idea of really owning these communities and giving value back to the gamers. And again, it's a cross-platform tournament, so it doesn't matter if you're playing on a PS5, Xbox, PC, if you're playing Call of Duty, League of Legends, simple games. We're getting into mobile games, what we're calling palate cleanser games, because not everyone wants to play the highly intense competitive ones all the time. But just really giving people a place and a community where they can connect, find some healthy competition, and find those social communities. But again, focusing on the amateur and emerging gamer, and our main vision is user acquisition. And we're doing that in really interesting ways. We're engaging organizations that already have existing brands and followings. And then we're allowing to do these partnerships where they'll use our tech and our back end, and their front end will be their own organization. So whether that's a large company where everyone's working from home during COVID-19 and HR wants to do a fun team building tournament, or our two main pillars is what I'm focusing on right now, are existing sport teams and colleges and universities, because a lot of them want to have an esports program, but they're not quite sure how to tackle that. And I've said in the past, coming into this space, it's interesting where I feel like the tech is a decade ahead of everything we're seeing. It's super advanced, but the biz dev and the branding and the onboarding process is like a decade behind. It's still playing catch up a little bit. So I kind of feel like I'm the minutia, the connective tissue between these worlds and kind of bringing these parties together.
Well said, Matt. So what are some of the milestones that you guys have planned for the next 3 to 6 months? I know that ALPA Esports just had some news earlier this week, a partnership with Spartan Athletics. What else is in the works?
Yeah, we're really excited to be working with them. I mean, if you read our prospectus, we're really focusing on user acquisition. And again, how do we do that is with these organizations. So the Gamers Arena platform that can onboard all these names and people, organize a bracket style tournament or different other formats, and then administer prizes or their stats and analytics. And this is also really important for another offering we have called Gamers Arena Plus, which is like a monthly subscription. And this gives users access to bigger tournaments, bigger prizes, and your stats and analytics, which will eventually become scouting. But to get back to your question, that same tech we can use with these other organizations. So one of the first sports teams we started working with was our local MLS team, the Vancouver Whitecaps. And we had a great youth program, the One Esports event, that went really well. We signed the New Jersey Devils. And we're talking to a lot of other NHL and NFL teams right now as far as building out programs for them to just give them value of how their brand and their players can connect with their fans, both existing and new. And then also colleges and universities. A lot of colleges and universities have very fragmented esports organizations and associations and leagues. And we really see ourselves becoming the gold standard of scouting and ranking and just giving them an amazing platform for that. So we're working on partnerships right now with colleges and universities and other pro sports teams.
So Matthew, where can some of our viewers and audience members go to read up more about your company, your team, and your projects?
Great. Yeah. So our website is alphaesports.com, and that's our parent company. And on Instagram, we're alphatech_Inc. INC. On Twitter, we're Alpha Esports Inc. And Alpha is really the parent company, and we're looking at other M&A opportunities within the space that could kind of cross-pollinate value to, again, amateur and emerging gamers, online communities. And then Gamers Arena is our in-house site, spelled with a Z, so gamersarena.com. And then a lot of those other organizations will have their own forward-facing page, but our back end and our users, and then we look forward to kind of having different organizations challenge each other within that ecosystem. But yeah, I feel like we're just getting started, and it's an exciting time for us.
It's an exciting time. I think it's the right time, and there's so much room to grow in this industry. So I wish you and your team nothing but success as you guys move forward. We at the CSE are always here to help support with anything you guys might need. To anybody watching, please, I would suggest you go over to Alpha Esports website, take a look at what they're doing, read up on their strong team. And if you like content like this that the CSE is putting together, please hit that like and subscribe button. We really appreciate it. And once again, thank you so much for watching another newly listed on the CSE clip.
Thanks so much for having me, man. That was a blast, and look forward to having many more conversations with you.
Likewise. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for tuning in to another newly listed on the CSE. Please feel free to hit like and share this content, and hit subscribe if you haven't already.